Hello, everybody, and greetings from the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. I'm Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, along with Donnie Moore and Marcus Fitzsimmons, and this is the Goatee Sports Page. Tennessee closes out the regular season football schedule, and we're going to the whistle blows. And now let's set the lineup card, sponsored by Blunt Partnership, the University of Tennessee Sports Report, sponsored by the Cherokee Group, and the Murphy's Bobcat SEC Notebook, lead off with Marcus Fitzsimmons and Donnie Moore. Today, we'll look back at Tennessee's pounding by Georgia and throw in some UT basketball. Carson Newman assistant football coach Tony Iruli will be on board. Donnie Moore will update us on high school scores and news from around the area, and then Mark It Down with Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty, features an update on the high school football playoffs. The Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment will be in the lineup, featuring Marcus Fitzsimmons. Today, our crew will talk some UT basketball. Donnie Moore returns to discuss headlines from around the sports world before the Boyd Sports Spotlight shines on today's SEC football schedule and the coaching carousel. And finally, the bold prediction segment closes the show as the Goatees panel make their pigskin selections. And now it's time for the Cherokee Group UT Sports Report and Murphy's Bobcat SEC Notebook, featuring Marcus Fitzsimmons and Donnie Moore. Carson Newman, assistant football coach Tony Iruli, is back with us this morning. Good morning to all of you. And, Tony, did you have a good Thanksgiving? Huh?
Yes. We had about 28 people over the house. we had 4 turkeys, 1 big ham.
Well, at least 4 turkeys. Huh?
At least. You know, Italians, we don't do anything on the small scale.
Yeah.
And so we had them, there were some people I really didn't know who was there and all that. They just
show up. They saw the cars and said, "Hey, looks like a pretty good place here.
Good place to stop.
Party at the Iruli.
It smells good and the door's open.
And the price is right."
Yes, it's even better. And then afterwards, we had our annual Thanksgiving Day touch football game.
There we go.
Yes, and
did you win or lose?
I'm not sure, because I think I'm 66 years old and my running ability is not very good anymore. I was worried
were you playing real
Yes.
touch football,
Yes.
or were you all playing that crazy football they did in that new Top Gun movie where you're on offense and defense at the same time?
No. We had 2 teams going against each other and all that. I think I pulled several muscles afterwards, and I was on heavy medication after the game.
Did you stiff arm any grandchildren, Tony? Be honest.
Two of them, and then they clipped me afterwards and all that. So they take it very personal.
We had some of those touch football games growing up in Indiana at Thanksgiving in the snow. Donnie.
Oh yeah.
We played them in the snow up there because it was cold.
Oh man.
Yeah. And a lot of activity outside this morning too. Up there.
Yeah. If you can see the background.
That's right. Got the Maryville Holiday Market going on right here today. Next week's the Christmas parade, so we got a lot of activity going on here this time of the year.
Like the Today Show here.
Page.
We got all
window on the world. Yeah. Well, let's get started here. Let's talk about. I got the Let Her Rip. Let Her Rip this morning.
Let's do it.
I'm telling you, I'm ripping East Tennessee State. East Tennessee State.
Yeah.
They've let George Quarles go up there after 2 seasons. And, Tony, I'm going to start with you on it. I don't like it at all. I know he went 6-16, and I know that Randy Sanders had an 11-2 season, and he rode out of there on his white horse. Yeah. But when he rode out of there on his white horse, I'm sure a lot of those players hit the transfer portal, and George came in there, and basically I'm sure, and you probably know more about it than I did, basically had to start over with that football program.
Sure.
And
2 years, I just don't think it's long enough to give a guy a chance, huh?
I'm sorry to say this, but I'm pissed about this.
Yeah,
really
I just don't understand it.
That is absolutely not right. They got a president up there that's half bonkers. Who's if you look at what they're doing in their athletic program, they're firing coaches after 2 years in a lot of different sports.
Yeah,
and they're way short of their admissions goals and enrollment goals. And George comes in, all right. Coach Sanders does a great job over there, but he had about with a lot of success at what I still call the 1AA level. What happens is those players, they start looking for other opportunities at different schools because of that dang on transfer portal. Mm-hmm. So George lost about 30 players from the transfer portal.
Exactly what I'm saying.
His first year.
Yeah. So the first year's a write-off. I mean, it's just an absolute. You write it off. You know, you're starting from scratch here.
Exactly right. And this year, George was, and we played them the second game of the season, and they beat us. But they were really besieged with injuries. They went through about 4 or 5 different quarterbacks. Their offensive line and defensive line were just, injury-ridden and all that. And, I can see them saying, okay, we got to get this thing turned around. You bring them back, third year, let's see if you get it turned around third year. Fourth year, that's what we do it. The coach at Tennessee Tech, he was there for 6 years, didn't have a winning record, but they stood by him and all that.
Right.
And I could go off on this for a while, but I think it was low class.
Yeah.
And I have no respect for that.
Yeah,
program.
it's not an SEC school. It's not an SEC school. East Tennessee State. I mean, they're paying him $400,000, to buy out his 5-year contract.
But he was making $225, I think, is what the report was, the season.
Yeah.
But what is the difference? Like, when you factor in the recruiting circuit of what East Tennessee State is dealing with. Mm-hmm. When you've got Carson Newman, Tusculum, Newberry, all the colleges your guys are playing, and you throw Emory and Henry into there, what's the difference between playing and that 2A Division II versus FCS is not that steep a climb.
No, it is not.
And your recruiting trail has just gotten a lot harder for Upper East Tennessee because of Emory and Henry's move. I mean, you're asking Towson Maryville College's success in the last 2 years. That's a hard recruiting circuit for anybody.
I'm wondering also, Liberty's had great success in their football program down there.
Right.
And now you got James Madison, had great success.
Right,
and some of the other, I call them mid-majors. They're really not mid-majors anymore. But do you think this had some bearing on East Tennessee State, seeing those programs, and they want to be like them, so they just kind of get into that hiring and firing mode?
Yeah, I think, again, I think this is the way the president is over at East Tennessee. I mean, when I grew up in a generation. Whenever there was a head coach that came in, he was given 4 or 5 years, bringing in his recruits, build the program, and all that. But because of the transfer portal, it's changed everything. And what's happened is, East Tennessee couldn't get those really good players to transfer into East Tennessee because one, they don't have the NIL money to entice them to go to East Tennessee. And, of course, East Tennessee, they're right in the middle of, Western Carolina's had a good season. Appy State's had a good season. UT Chattanooga's had a good season. And so, there was a lot of recruiting issues that, George had to come with. And I just, like I said, he's born and raised a East Tennessee man and a great reputation. And for what they did to him, I think.
Yeah, and when you get to that level, listen, you can be an outstanding football coach. You've been there.
Sure.
You can be an outstanding football coach, but it's about recruiting, Tony.
Certainly is.
It's about recruiting, and you've got to have time to get that recruiting base going.
How much staff turnover was there when George came in? Was there a lot?
I would say he kept probably about half of the.
So that's half of your recruiting class out the door.
Yeah.
Correct, like that. But like I said, I mean, what really hurt that program, you didn't have an ability to continue what Coach Sanders had done over there, coming off that 11-win season, because all their good ball players, they transferred to different schools.
Sure.
They transferred.
That was a heavy senior
and
class.
Graduation and graduation.
Heavy senior class. And all the marbles kind of lined up against George early on. And I've got the highest respect for George, as we all here. And again, I think.
We hope nothing but the best for him, and hopefully he'll land somewhere.
Sure.
Else. I think sometimes when you get into coaching in college, it's real hard. Some people are saying, "Well, will he get back in high school?" It's really hard to go back to high school after you're in the college ranks for a while, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a whole different atmosphere. You're not teaching classes like you do in high school, and you're there just to coach your sport.
Yeah, and I've been coaching college all.
Exactly.
And every once in a while, I would kind of throw out an idea. Well, maybe I should be a high school coach, and my whole family.
And you got over that in about 5 seconds.
Yeah. They're worried about lawsuits.
When you talk to somebody, say, "Well, we'd love to have you." Now you're going to teach 5 classes a day now, and you can work your football in, when you get time.
I'd have to have Marcus on my side and a lot of issues and all that. So.
Yeah.
Well, see, I think you'd be much better at it now than you were when you were at Maryville College, because you've had the spark of what did Ken give you? I'm not even sure.
you got a
restraint.
chance, to calm down a little bit. My experience with Ken Sparks was such a great experience there and all that.
Yeah.
And but it was, the transition being from the coach from the hardcore, tough-nosed type of head coach into nowadays, it's tough being that type of coach because you're not going to last very long.
You better be winning some ball games if you're going to be that kind of coach.
Exactly right. And so, but Ken Sparks was just awesome guy.
Hey, let's talk about some Tennessee football. Last Saturday, the number one Georgia Bulldogs came into Knoxville to take on the number 21 Tennessee Vols. Everything was set up, Marcus. Stadium was full. Nice day. Dolly was there. And unfortunately, Peyton shows up for the big game. And you know what happens when Peyton shows up for a big game? You better just go ahead and get the L out because it's coming. But everybody was there. Everybody was all excited. And Tennessee got the 75-yard run right out of the gate. And everybody goes, here we go. We're going to be tearing down some goalposts. And again, like Missouri, that was the highlight film of the day, the 75-yard touchdown run.
I thought when Dolly got up there to sing, first off, there was Peyton in the picture. And then secondly, everything that went wrong with her trying to sing, I thought that was just about the epitome of Tennessee's day because the walkout worked really well. After that, everything went downhill. And I thought that was the same for Tennessee. They caught Georgia off guard the first play, got something big, and I don't know if they could. They just thought that they were on a roll, and I don't know what happened there, but they never found that magic. Yeah, it was
almost like
again.
Jalen Wright took it all the way to the house, the 75-yard run. It was almost like Georgia was saying, well, okay, let's let them have one.
Yeah.
Let's let them have one off the bat because, we may be behind in the playoffs. We need the experience of coming from behind, hostile. And, boy, that was it, 38 to 10. And I thought it would be much closer than that, but Tony, that
was kind of all of our thoughts. We've
said this is a hard team to figure out. They're 7-4 right now, but they haven't beaten anybody ranked, and they've got another season gone by without beating Florida, without beating Alabama, without beating Georgia, and that's not good either.
Yeah.
But they got Vanderbilt today, and we're going to talk a little bit about Vanderbilt here later on, but. And they got the bowl game left, so it looks and that bowl game should not be the most difficult game in the world. I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, but I think that they've got an excellent chance of finishing 9-4. There's nothing wrong with an 8-4 record. 9-4 I would say is a good year.
Yep.
But the fact that you just haven't beaten any ranked teams on that schedule this year, you look back at it, University of Texas at San Antonio, came in here and they plastered him. They got their quarterback. They've had a pretty good year.
Yeah, they have.
Had a pretty good year. They got beat. I think Tulane beat them 28-16 or something like that yesterday. But I think their record is, 9-3 or 8-4. They turned it around after the Tennessee game.
Of course, in the middle of a great recruiting area right there. So they're always going to get really good ball players from that program there. But I was surprised. I just thought Tennessee was going to give it a much better fight against Georgia, except for the opening play of the game. It was just really just dominated by Georgia.
Yeah.
And I thought Tennessee was going to rebound from the disaster that they had against Missouri the previous week and come back and really play well against Georgia at home, and it just didn't quite happen.
Well, we've talked about recruiting on the college level, and Marcus, if you look at that roster of Georgia, I mean, they're loaded with 5 stars. Yeah. They're loaded with 5 stars.
Sure.
You look at the roster of Tennessee, not so much on the 5 stars. Not so much. And I know that Coach Trail, when he was on the show, used to always say, hey, you can't measure that heart. And, you got to get you got to get kids in your own backyard because kids in your own backyard, the dog will fight harder, But I'm telling you, when you're looking at Georgia's roster and when you're winning like Georgia's winning, they're going to continue to get 5-star athletes there at Georgia and Alabama too.
Well, they are, and if you look at next year's rankings right now, and that it's going to it might change a little bit come next week and 10 days and signing day, but if you count Texas and Oklahoma, I think 12 of the top 25 are in the SEC. Like everybody. except maybe for Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, are in the top 25 with recruiting. Tennessee's got like the 5th best class coming in the conference, but a top 10 class, and you're still 5th in your conference.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're recruiting with Georgia and Alabama, what would be a good recruiting class and put you at the top of some conferences is good for 4th or 5th place in the SEC.
Right. But Donnie Moore, Georgia's the measuring stick right now. So if they're the measuring stick, I'm going to get with you on this one. Are we a fourth of the way to Georgia? Are we a halfway to Georgia? Or are we 3/4 of the way to Georgia right now, this program?
I would say right now we're about halfway to Georgia. Although we're next door neighbors to them.
So we're
geographically.
We're somewhere around Chattanooga. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're about halfway. We're about to Chattanooga as far as Georgia goes.
That might be a really good metaphor because we might be stuck in traffic in Chattanooga as far as the Tennessee programs.
Boy, that's
man,
for sure.
Because
Yeah.
it's like they hit a point, and last year they got shot 10 miles down the road, and then they got to downtown Chattanooga, and they're kind of stalled out right now.
Yeah. Marcus, where are you at? Are we a fourth of the way, half away, 3/4 of the way?
I'm pretty sure. I think we're stuck in traffic a little bit because, you can progress so far, but what's going to happen? I think what we're seeing is you've got two things going on. One, we didn't realize how good some of the players last year really were. The NFL apparently did, but we did not appreciate
the
it.
NFL did.
And we thought the offense was plug and play, and it wasn't. You put that with some injuries at some key positions, namely at receiver and in the offensive line, and you give them that, and then you give the defensive coordinators their third look at this offense, and they're figuring some things out.
Yeah.
And they're approaching like there's not a textbook on how to play Tennessee, but you're seeing so many different defensive tries at what they're going to do that it's making it more difficult for Tennessee to do what they want to do.
Yeah. Tony, I thought I still think 8-4 is a fine year. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think most coaches would feel that way.
And that was about the record that we all kind of thought.
Well, yeah, 8-4, 9-3.
Yeah, right.
I think most
7-5.
7-5.
But I still think, based on where we were last year, if you're looking at progression, I think we've taken a step back a little bit. We did beat Florida last year, and we did beat Alabama. Alabama, which was a great win.
Sure.
But we also played Georgia really well the first half, as you remember last year.
Correct.
And this year we played Alabama pretty good the first half, but the second half, Alabama and Georgia, both those games really weren't close.
Yeah.
And then the disappointment of losing to Florida down there when they weren't really supposed to have a really good year. So I don't think we've regressed into the panic mode right now, but I think based on where we were and how we were, kind of climbing up the ladder, I think we regressed just a little bit this year.
Yeah, I think that we knew last year's players were very special, and we knew once we lost them, we didn't quite have that quality type of player to come in. But going back to what you just said, I think, to me, the disappointing part was our game against Florida. I mean, where – we had a much better team. They weren't playing well at all, and for us going down there and having the ability to beat them, that's what we needed to do.
Yeah.
And we didn't get the job done.
But if you look at Florida's season, it's hard for me not to say Tennessee got Florida's best game of the year.
Yeah,
that might change today with Florida State, but Tennessee got Florida the best game Florida's played all season.
Sure.
And I think the thing is, if you were measuring in the fan perspective, you can lose to Missouri, or you could have dropped a game to Florida, but losing both of them is why you have disappointment.
Yeah.
If Tennessee was looking at 9-3, I don't think there's that much discontent.
Yeah. Tony, you're going into you got Vanderbilt left, and you got a bowl game.
Yeah.
And then you're going into a revamped SEC conference.
Sure.
You got Texas coming in, Oklahoma, and everybody was licking their chops because they weren't doing very well when they first found out they were coming in.
Right.
But that's all changed now because both of them have turned their programs around, especially this year. And we're going to go into that year with a quarterback that hadn't had any experience. Nico Imaliva has not had any experience. a lot of fans right now are saying, hey, play him. Play him. Go ahead and play him against Vanderbilt. Play him today. Play him in the bowl game. Give him some experience. Because you know and I know that if you don't have a quarterback going in, and I think it's going to be tougher next year than it's been since, in the last few years. So what do you think? A lot of people are saying, go ahead, play him now. Let's go.
I think this is a game that you play him quite a bit in this game. Maybe bring him in about the second quarter and let him finish it off against Vanderbilt, which really should not be very much of a game. Playing some in the bowl game, and so that opening season next year, you've got a quarterback with some experience coming into it instead of him being just a incoming straight off the shells without any type of experience.
And
absolutely.
Marcus Joe Milton, he's struggling a little bit right now. I mean, he's his accuracy has declined, and I know that's not all his fault because his receiving core is all beat up.
Yeah.
He's lost McCoy right there at the start of the year, and he's lost other receivers because of injuries, and it looked like he was going to run the ball some, give him defense some looks. That's kind of been put on the back burner, and then they say, well, he can throw it 100 yards, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm waiting on him to throw 100 yards. If he can throw it, let him throw it.
Been waiting on
it. And you're throwing all this short stuff and so forth. Let him just rear back now, and if you're going to play him, let him do what he can do and throw it. But he's throwing some balls that I don't know. There was a ball he threw in the end zone there last week that before the receiver got his hands up to catch the ball was in the stands.
Yeah.
He's back to throwing darts.
Yeah.
Darts, man.
There's some recognition, I think, in this offense of where your opportunities are. And like I said, teams are getting better about how they're wanting to defend it and how they're disguising what they're doing a little bit. But I don't think it's his athletic ability. I don't think there's any doubt about his ability to throw the ball or run the ball. But it's that very quick recognition of what you're getting, what you're actually getting, not what the defense showed you before the snap. And to where what that's opening up for you. And I think that was what we saw from Hooker that was so good that we didn't appreciate was he knew almost instantly if he was going to dump it 5 yards across the middle or if he was going to take that shot to the end zone. Yeah. I don't think Milton's got that recognition.
No, I don't think he's played with the confidence level this year that he really needs to have in the Southeastern Conference. He's never been able to build. I think that right there before the Alabama game, it looked like he was really coming around, the confidence there. In the second half of Alabama, it's just kind of been, it's been real iffy,
Hasn't been
but
quite the
yeah.
same.
Would the best thing in the world not be for him to decide he wanted to work for the NFL and skip the bowl game?
Yeah. Well,
would that not be the best thing for Tennessee?
Might be. It might be. I want to throw out some praise.
Who's Tennessee looking at real quick in the possibility of the bowl game?
Well, I got that on here.
Okay.
Mike's got a list. He's got projections and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt a whole different segment here, so we'll do it later.
Yeah, the bowl list right now it looks like North Carolina in the Gator Bowl. There's not a whole lot of talk about the Music City Bowl because they played over there at the start of the year, and there's not a whole lot of talk about the Mayo Bowl over there because they're playing over there next year. And right now, if they finish 8-4, a lot of talk about possibly playing North Carolina. If it's somebody else, maybe a Big Ten opponent, but then you're getting into a Northwestern maybe, or maybe even a Rutgers. There's a lot of talk about Rutgers. Because of Shiano and what happened to him here, as far as them about hiring him and all that took place.
Be a storyline anyway.
Yeah, there's some talk about that. But right now it all kind of points at the Gator Bowl, I think, down in Florida.
Well, the nice thing about Tennessee, good or bad if you're a Tennessee fan, is any bowl knows Tennessee will travel well. So that gives them the luxury. They can take somebody that might not have the fan base that travels as well because they know Tennessee will suck up those tickets.
Yeah. I want to praise Georgia a little bit. Carson Beck, what a job he's done coming in this year to quarterback. He threw for 298 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. Georgia unbeaten in the Southeastern Conference for 3 straight years. How hard is that?
Yeah.
How hard is that to do? That's almost unbelievable. And now they got a chance to win a third national championship in a row, which I think the last time that was done was back in the 1930s.
Yeah.
At least a lot farther back than I can ever remember. Yeah. And then people always step up for them. You know, I thought the guy that really played well last Saturday was Dylan Bell. You know, 5 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown. He threw the 18-yard touchdown pass, which was a great call in the game, Donnie. Yeah. That was a great call.
It was.
Right there. You know, the game was still early, and the crowd was still into it. They threw that pass in the end zone. There was nobody around the guy.
I agree.
And I really think Georgia has done a great job this year. But
again, when you compare the two programs, Tennessee, Georgia, here comes Georgia's quarterback that didn't play very much at all last year, unless there was a mop-up situation, and he comes in there and it's like they just don't miss a beat. Yeah. With the brand new quarterback.
Yeah.
But that offense is not as sophisticated.
I will say that. Yeah.
There's not as many reads, and you're working with. There's a difference. I mean, the qualitative advantage that Georgia and Alabama enjoy is when their center gets hurt or their guard gets hurt. The guy may not have experience, but he's also really talented athletically at a different level, and can compensate with a lot what is missing on technique, on sheer athleticism against most teams.
Vanderbilt comes in today 2-9. Tennessee's a 27-point favorite, plus 330 on the SEC network. What's Tennessee playing for? Well, 8-win regular season, nothing to be ashamed of there. Senior day. Reverse the November frustrations. November hadn't been good to them, so now there's a chance that they can finish with a big win, so to speak. Carry some momentum into a bowl game and maybe turn the offense loose, especially the second half, because, Tony, the second half, that offense, I don't know what they're doing at halftime, but it ain't working.
They're not showing up at all.
It's not working.
No.
You know, ditch that deal, whatever you're doing. And Vanderbilt on the other side of the ball, well, it's pretty much the same old ride for them. They're playing for pride, and this is their big bowl game, so to speak, and they're trying to some way salvage some positive thing out of an awful season. I did go back and look at scores. We lost to Missouri 36-10. Vandy lost to Missouri 38-21. Georgia beat Vandy 37-20. We lost 38-10. Florida, Vandy lost to Florida 38-14, and we lost 29-16. So if you're coaching Vandy, I guess you're throwing out some scores to your players and saying, "Hey, look, I mean, we played Georgia as good as they played them." And I don't know.
I think when they play Vandy, they're going in the game thinking, "Hey, it's Vandy. We just kind of go through the motions. We're going to beat them." Well, Vandy comes up and they'll play hard. They'll maybe score a couple of touchdowns early on, and all of a sudden, now the other teams now they're woke up a little bit, and now they got their attention, and now they're going to come and get after them.
Marcus, real quick before we get out of here, you got any feelings for Vandy today at all?
I'm from that generation that has no feelings to begin with, so for me to have any for Vandy is kind of difficult. But no, I mean, Vanderbilt and Tennessee is going to lay it on Vanderbilt if it's going to lay it on anybody. So, and last year was kind of the example. With Vanderbilt coming off of a bye week, they've had 2 weeks to think about this. This is their bowl game. They finally get away from the construction equipment, so good for them to have the road trip to Knoxville. It's not, the Bahamas, but it's their bowl game.
Yeah, and all the other bowls are we talked a little bit about the show before the show starts this morning. All the SEC bowl games are getting ready to start, and Vandy's going, well, we're going to get a nice paycheck out of all these.
Yeah, that's right.
So the season's not completely lost. So we'll see. Nice day for football, Donnie. Nice day. Pretty day over there, and hopefully they'll have a great crowd. Hey, we'll take a timeout here, and when we return, Donnie Moore will provide high school scores and news from around the area, and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons joins us with his feature, Mark It Down. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
It's payday, and on payday, you want to have access to your money right away. When you enroll for direct deposit at Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, your money comes to you with no waiting. It's the fastest and most secure way to get paid. Getting set up is easy. All you need is your account number and our routing number. Find out more at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Some restrictions apply. Ask for details.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com. Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093. We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. The Blueticks.
Welcome back to the Goatee Sports page. And Donnie Moore, you're up with some scores and highlights, and it's not as full as it's been in the past, especially for football, because we're getting down to the end, and we've only got one school here that's still in. And
Indeed.
They're pretty familiar.
We're weeding them out. State semifinals round last night in the TSSAA playoffs.
And they still had great weather.
They sure did.
I'm telling you.
It was cool last night, but in Class 3A, the Alcoa Tornadoes stand alone in the area, in Blount County anyway. Alcoa Tornadoes played Giles County last night from Dresden. No, Pulaski, not Dresden, Pulaski. I'm sorry, Pulaski, Tennessee.
Which is
Marcus and I talked about that. It is just about dead center in southern Tennessee, about as far as you can get right there, just on the Alabama border.
If there was a road that went straight from here to there, it wouldn't be as bad.
No. But you just about can't get there from here.
Alcoa had to do this last year. You got to drive all the way to Nashville.
Yeah.
You got to go an hour south.
And turn south for about an hour.
And basically, if you get to the Welcome Center in Alabama, you've gone too far. You need to go back up about 10 miles.
So
that's it.
You don't go through Chattanooga then, right?
No. I mean, you could if you wanted. There's a state road that will get you over there.
Yeah, it's just a state road.
But
if you want to go interstate, you got to go to Nashville and turn south. Yeah, and it's – but I'm telling you, they brought a fairly decent number of people from
I was impressed. Well, I was joking with Donnie before the game. We were there, 2 hours before kickoff.
2 hours before
about
kickoff.
90 minutes out, there were. I told Donnie there was 12, and he said, "You missed those two." And I said, "Well, there's 14 in the stands." And I turned around and looked back up, and they'd filled up the entire center section over there. So, I mean, they had a good crowd.
They did. They really did. But they had a long way to travel. But there were some Bobcat fans over there. But,
I don't know who you were, Mr. Yellow Sweatshirt, but we did hear you on the other side of the
field.
We did
indeed. He was he was a rabid fan indeed over there.
So they're going to play next Friday.
Alcoa plays next Friday, and at Finley Stadium at University of Tennessee Chattanooga at 11 a.m.
Okay.
And for the state championship, they will play, and I'll run down the scores here in a little
Lord,
bit.
I'll just be getting out of bed.
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to.
You'll have to get
if
up
you're
early.
a Tornado fan, you'll have to get up early and travel to Chattanooga.
That's one
Next
of those
week.
excuses to get coffee and biscuits on the go.
That's right. That's right. Eat in the car, and or if you're a very early riser, you
We
can
could do
sit and
we
eat.
could do a sports page road trip.
Yeah, that's good. But it was a great game.
Yeah.
Giles County is a very talented football team. Make no mistake. They've got some good athletes, and you don't get to the state semifinals without being a good football team.
Well, they're done now.
They sure are. They are done now because not only is Alcoa a good football team, they are a great football team.
Well, I tell you what, if you're at Alcoa and this is your 4th year over there and you win another one of those rings, I've seen you had one of those rings.
Yeah,
you brought
I
in
got a
here.
couple of them.
Yeah.
So
where do you if you put them in lockbox, you have to rent a pretty big lockbox, wouldn't you,
yeah,
Marcus?
you do.
Double the lockbox or what? What do you do with them things?
I don't know.
They'll find something.
It's one of
to
those
do
things
with it.
I will at some point I want to ask Coach Nix and Coach Gossett about because they've both been there for all of this run. But, you know, when you think that Alcoa's won 17 of 20, 17 of 20
Yeah.
they've won, then,
It's pretty incredible.
I mean,
Are they going for their 9th in a row, or
they're going for their ninth in a row.
Ninth in a row.
But you get, I mean, when you've got that number, I mean,
If you're an
you've
Alcoa
got,
senior,
you've only got
4 in a
3
row.
toes left.
Yeah.
I mean,
wow?
It's hard to find a place to put one of those
Yeah.
things, you know.
Yeah.
but I think, and I was telling you this early.
Like Ray would say, you
What's-
can get 21.
What's the ring company do? Do they call them in August and say, y'all want fitted for your rings right now?
No, they don't do that. At
No,
Alcoa.
it's taking a pretty big chance. But final score is 38-7, by the way.
Yeah, well.
And it was a little bit. It was a closer game than that.
It was.
Well, that was a real close game considering how they beat everybody else, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
But I was talking with Donnie about this
We
earlier.
gave them all we wanted.
Of the in Class 3A, the 4 teams that we've seen in the semifinals, we've basically seen the last 3 years with one exception, which is East Nashville, Dyersburg, Alcoa, and Giles County. Alcoa and Giles County have played 3 consecutive semifinals, with Alcoa winning all 3. East Nashville beat Dyersburg again last night, second time in 3 years they've played them in the semifinals. Last year when they played Covington's been the only exception. The good programs in this state are staying good.
They are.
You
And
know,
that score was 33-19, East Nashville over Dyersburg last night, by the way.
And it was a close game into the late in the third quarter before East Nashville pulled away.
You know, back in the day, when they had horse racing was really big, you know, when you had
That was the
you had
day.
War Admiral and you
Yeah.
had Seabiscuit,
Yeah.
and you was trying to figure out which one was the best horse, and then
Yeah.
you had a match race. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
They made
You
a
know where
movie.
I'm going right
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
Where I'm going right now is after this thing's all said and done here,
Yeah.
and you've got 2 of the great teams. You got Alcoa, not taking anything away from West and everybody else because they got
Yeah.
you got Oakland, and which is top of the line there.
Right.
And you've got Alcoa. I say line them up for a match race. I don't care where you play it on a neutral site and count the dollar bills
Oakland and
and
Alcoa.
leave the state out of it. They don't get nothing. Huh?
yeah, but they wouldn't permit that.
Well,
No,
Well,
that's,
you-
But it was a
that's
great idea.
against the rules.
yeah, it's a great idea. What kind of crowd support would you have for a deal like that?
You'd
Yeah,
have
and
a
both
lot.
those schools would go, well, yeah, we'd be for that,
And
I would think.
Oakland got through last night, but it was not a cakewalk. I mean, they
No, I'll give you
No.
those scores. I
It
got
was a
all those
win
scores, and I'll give them to you here in just a minute.
Yeah,
give
go
us
for it.
season. We'll
Go
come
ahead.
back to Alcoa.
Here's the scores right here from last night. Some of the scores of interest. West beat Walker Valley 38-3. Oakland, the 6A contest semifinal last night. Oakland beat Bradley Central 38-17.
And Bradley Central hadn't lost. Is that
No,
correct?
Bradley
No, that was
Central's
the first one.
Bradley
Well,
Central's
Well, they have now.
tough team to beat.
Yeah.
South Pittsburgh in was it 1A, Marcus?
Class
South-
1A.
Class 1A. South Pittsburgh beat Oliver Springs 31-6. And in another 3A contest.
4A.
4A. Yeah, Upperman beat Greenville, a team that Alcoa played but was suspended
That's a
because of
game.
weather.
Right.
Upperman beat Greenville 21-14. So that was a close contest.
Yeah.
And you look at that, I mean, Alcoa had Greenville scheduled, was having a good game until the weather came in.
Mm-hmm.
Knox West, they've already beaten in 5A.
Alcoa beat West
And
earlier in the season.
And Giles County is kind of the same way because they had 2 losses, and one of those was to Page in 5A. And Page beat Southwind last night 10-7. They're going to be playing Knox West for the championship.
Yeah.
I mean, these top-tier teams can play each other no matter what size they are.
You better believe it.
Yeah.
And Alcoa has faced some tough competition all season long.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Now, Oakland.
Yep.
They need to play. How many college recruiters would be at the Alcoa Oakland game?
Quite a few. They'll be lining up right there. I mean, it's very talented on both sides of the ball, and it'd be a lot of fun.
But it was 21-7 last night at half.
Yeah.
I mean, it was still fairly close, and momentum was on Giles County's side because Alcoa had the ball at the end of the first half, took a couple shots to the end zone, didn't connect on them, and then they came out and drove the ball to start the second half and got stopped on downs. And
three times, right? Alcoa was stopped on downs and turned it over to.
Well, I lost count, but it was that first drive that kind of stuck out.
Times.
So Giles
was
was driving, and they don't have their quarterback who got knocked out making a block in the first half,
right before halftime.
But they're only down by 14. They're driving the ball, and got into the red zone. And that was just the wheels just came off in about 3-minute span.
Mm-hmm.
Alcoa jumped on them real quick because they stopped them, forced them to try a field goal. It got blocked for a kick 6 that got returned.
Yep.
And then you have Brandon Winton make probably the biggest play he's made all year. That was the most dynamic reception I've seen from him yet.
Yeah, 89 yards.
He took what was an 8-yard pass and turned it into an 89-yard gain, and I bet he ran 170.
Oh,
because he went from one sideline to the other and left defenders piled up in every direction.
Reception run for a touchdown.
I was just really impressed. He got to the sideline about the far 20, and he already cut directions twice, cut back again, and left 3 defenders piled up on top of each other and raced the last man to the end zone.
And what can you say about a fake punt?
I was just about to say that was the big.
Eli Graff. Everybody in the whole stadium, including the opposition, knows that he's going to do a fake. He's going to try a fake punt.
Well, Alcoa has done, and GP knew it last week that it was coming.
Yeah, everybody knows it's coming.
And I was laughing with this after the game. Giles County they brought the defender up. They didn't have a return man.
They didn't even have a return man.
Yeah.
And Graff ran through that extra defender on his. Once he got through him, there was nobody back there to stop him, and he was gone for 68 yards.
Yep.
But as Coach Nix has said, and I think we put this in the paper every week, Eli Graff does what Eli Graff does.
That's right, he does.
And I thoroughly believe that if Alcoa introduced Quidditch at the school tomorrow, you give them a week, and Eli Graff would be the star of that team and one of the best players in the state.
I full well agree.
He is just a very talented athlete, and I don't care what his size and stats say. He is. If there are not every school we talked about in the George Quarles segment, if every one of them is not knocking on his door, they're making a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Including Carson Newman.
Yes, including Carson Newman.
So we got it right here. Carson Newman's going to try to get it.
Can't say it.
Yeah, you can't say that. That's true.
Oh, we have fans behind us now.
Oh yeah.
More small town Saturday going on behind us in the
That's right.
background. If you're watching,
This is true.
if you're watching us on YouTube, you've got a great show going on behind us.
That's right. We do. We got the Maryville holiday market going on right here.
Yeah, Donnie
on
says
Broadway.
there's more dogs out there than there are people.
There could very, very well be. A lot of dogs. It might be the National Dog Show.
I was impressed last night with what Alcoa was able to do. And some real star athletes. I mean, you've got 4 guys over there that are real athletic, very hard to stop. You had the quarterback who got hurt. You got a running back who's being recruited at a very high level, and they were already take direct snaps as part of their offense with straight snaps as a running back. He had to take over And it kind of limited what Giles could do after that because he was taking the majority of the snaps.
Yeah.
But you still had the dynamic receiver, and they still made some chunk plays that nobody has really made on Alcoa.
Sure
they had
did.
2 passes over 40 yards, and I don't think that's happened all year to Alcoa.
No, I don't think so either.
Of course, one of them, the guy was falling down and nearly on his back and heaved it up, and somebody ran underneath the lame duck and got a 50-yard gain out of it, but it was still an athletic play from that receiver.
It certainly was. Well, the upshot is Alcoa's going to the ship. Again.
Again.
The rematch with East Nashville.
That's right, East Nashville.
And
Here they
Friday,
come.
11 o'clock.
Friday, 11
And
o'clock at
you
Finley
don't wanna
Stadium
miss
on
it.
the campus of University of Tennessee, Chattanooga.
Because if you remember last
you don't
year,
want to miss it.
That was a very, very, I think it was a 3-point game with about 90 seconds left in the first half, and Alcoa got an 11-point swing due to some mistakes from East Nashville. I don't know. You can't count on those sort of things
No, you
happening.
can't.
I mean, these are 2 very good teams that are very evenly matched.
Right. So that's the way it goes. Be there.
Get your
And,
tickets on GoFan now.
yeah,
Let me
GoFan.
say that
That's
because
Go fan now.
let me just give this out as the warning to Alcoa fans because it's similar to last year, but if you haven't done it yet, it can come as a surprise. If you get your tickets on GoFan before Wednesday, they're $12.
Yeah.
After that, you have to get them at the stadium for $20.
Yeah.
Parking is $15.
Great discount.
Cash only. And you better be ready to get there early because the lots fill up fast.
We talked about this before the show. I'd like to see Tennessee. I mean, football is big. It's big time down here.
It is.
I'd like to see Tennessee play their state championship games in Nashville. Nashville's the center. There's a lot of things to do in Nashville. There's a lot of hotels in Nashville. And I'd like to see them play those games at Titan Stadium.
Well,
that's where I'd like to see them play it.
It's moved around.
I know that you can't fill that stadium, but those kids, just think of what a thrill that would be to play right there in Titan Stadium in Nashville and all that being around. I brought that up because Indiana plays their state championship games, and they started yesterday in Lucas Oil, where the Colts play.
Okay.
And they got all those hotels downtown. There's plenty of places for people to stay. And Nashville's the same way. You can walk right down to the stadium.
Sure,
you don't have – and it'd be a great venue. But I don't know. What do you think, Morgan?
Well, I remember when I was in high school back in the dark ages, but, I mean, they were played at Dudley Field. They were played at Vanderbilt.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think traffic and accommodations became a concern at that point in time. And I think both of those – well, traffic's still an issue, but, I mean, it's still there. You've got places to stay. That's changed in Nashville. But, the problem we had, like, when it was at Murfreesboro, and that 65,000 Finn and Floyd Stadium, I mean, it looked empty.
At Murfreesboro?
In Murfreesboro.
Yeah, I mean.
That stadium looked empty.
Yeah.
But the Titan Stadium, the new Titan Stadium, I don't think the seating capacity is that. I think it's smaller than that. So I don't know if that stadium would actually look that empty in compared to some places it's been.
Well, it's going to look empty, but the main deal is letting those kids have the opportunity to play on that type
Well,
of
it depends
facility.
on the surface too, because that became a big concern for people hosting it. Was if you had artificial turf, it was okay, but when they played it on a natural surface, that became a problem because you were playing 9 games. Well, back then you were playing 6, but now you're playing 9 games
on turf.
And you're doing that the weekend after. Well, if it's the Titans, you've got a game coming up that following Sunday. But, if you were playing it at Tennessee Tech or if you were playing it at an FCS school, they might have a playoff game, a first-round playoff game coming up on that Saturday after. And that becomes a concern.
Well,
especially this year because UTC is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another thing, too, that's going to be a problem, too, before too long. Some of these schools coming from Memphis are going to be complaining about this long trip that they're having to take, to Chattanooga.
They're right.
I don't blame them.
And that's why Nashville's a good spot in that area right there because,
Right in the
it's sort of
middle.
like
Right,
in the middle.
yes,
right
in the
there.
middle.
That's a long way from Memphis
Yeah,
to Chattanooga.
I just think there's a lot to do in Nashville, and I think it'd be families would like to go down there and stay in the motels and, the downtown area and stadiums right there. I don't know.
I didn't like it when it got moved to Cookeville because, first of all, I don't think Tennessee Tech's facilities are that great. And so for them to move it from Murfreesboro to Tennessee Tech, I didn't quite agree with that move right now.
Don't the Titans sponsor an award? Isn't there an award that they
Yeah,
sponsor?
Mr. Football.
Mr. Football Awards.
Yeah,
That'll be
see, there
coming
you
up
are. If
right
they can
after
sponsor
this.
Mr. Football,
Award.
Sure.
loan us your stadium,
And we didn't mention that, but we should. Was Tuesday they announced the finalists.
Yeah, the finalists.
And
yeah.
Brandon Winton is at Alcoa is
Great.
one of the
Good.
three
Good.
finalists.
one
in
of the three
3A.
finalists for Mr. Football.
And
yeah.
I'm just hoping the fact that he has played on a good team where he hasn't been able to pad his stats, as can happen with some smaller schools some years.
Yeah. He only
And-
plays about half the
He plays
game.
half of the game. That's the
And
big
then
thing right
you've
there.
got the fact that Alcoa's won 3 in a row. I hope those don't work against him because he is the most dynamic athlete I've seen in 3A certainly, but almost in any classification with what he's been able to do.
Yeah.
Tony, are they going to have the they've had in the past the Indiana-Kentucky football game. They've had that up at Carson Newman. Are they going to have that again this year? Or?
Yeah, I think it got moved a couple of years ago to Gatlinburg, Pittman up there at their facilities up there. Yeah, we've always had a Kentucky, Tennessee All-Star game, and that usually happens. It usually happens probably somewhere in the middle of December. So I think invitations already been sent out, and I'm not sure who's been invited or not. But that's always a good thing especially for recruits as well.
And maybe there'll be a chance of snow.
Yep,
play
which
in
would be
the
good.
snow.
Yeah,
That's what Over Gatlinburg is for.
Yeah, that's why not? They come on up.
Come up and ski and watch the football game.
Not a bad deal. No, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I'm going to do a wrap up here. That's all we got for this episode of the Mandy B Street Realty Local Scoreboard. We'll start talking about basketball from here on out. Well, after a little wrap up of the.
Well,
Yeah,
we've given them a chance to
playoffs.
warm up, so next week we'll get
a chance
on
to
it.
warm up, and
Yep.
this year's a little different because we've got the regions have been moved around, people have been reclassified.
That's true.
We thought it affected football. It's really different in basketball this year, with some of our local schools not being in regions anymore like they've always been.
Yeah, that's true.
And because of the way the holidays fell this year, we've got a very different format with half the region games being played before Christmas. So they jumped
Yeah.
right into it after we
Yeah,
did our
they
Thanksgiving.
Well, we don't want to leave anybody out, but Heritage Girls is off to a fast start. And Maryville's boys off to a good start. William Blunt boys are off, and William Blunt girls are off to a pretty good start. And
They're off
of course,
to good
Alcoa
starts.
girls are off to a good start, and boys are competitive. And
Well,
so
the boys are
they're waiting on some players.
They're
sure.
waiting on
Yeah,
3 starters and or 2 starters and a bunch of key reserves.
So it looks like it's going to be a good winter for
Exactly.
basketball and the other sports here in the county.
So look, going back to football real quick. So East Tennessee, there's only 2 schools that are playing for the state championship. That'd be Alcoa and West. That's it.
Depends on how you count South Pittsburgh, but yeah.
South Pitt.
Yeah, that's
Technically
central.
it's Eastern Tennessee, not East Tennessee, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think we claim it.
I'm Marcus. Sorry, I didn't leave you a whole lot of time here.
Well, that's fine. We just kind of
Marcus.
rolled it up.
we
We
kinda
wrapped
rolled
it all
with
up
it.
That's
together.
what he was going to do
We're gonna
anyway.
roll it over anyway. I'm going to tell you listeners that you're listening to WKCE 92.5 FM and 1180 AM Mid-Century Radio. And with what few moments we have left, I'm going to kick it over to our friend and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons for his feature, Mark It Down.
Well, I think we marked it down, Don.
We did mark it down.
I think, Mike, you can take us right
Let's
into
just
the break.
roll it. Let's roll
Keep
it
it
into
rolling,
the break.
man. Don't even stop.
Yeah, we can do that. Hey, it's time to turn the page, and the Anderson Lumber Company segment Player of the Week will be up next. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Blue Tick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals.
The Blue Tick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Blue Tick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at StevensonTire.net. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew. And now it's time for the Goatees Sports Page Player of the Week segment, featuring Daily Times senior reporter Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Anderson Lumber Company, where quality service is always a priority, proudly serving Blount County for over 75 years. So, Marcus, want to talk a little bit about UT basketball, so you want to get us started? Or?
Well, Anderson Lumber, we're going to put it on the hardwood and talk about the Vols. And, how do you judge the performance at the Maui Invitational? They went 1-2, but the teams they lost to were number 1 and number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they got run over. No. They played both of them very well, very competitively, but both times when it came down to you got to have a basket, they still didn't have the guy who was going to get them a basket in that situation.
I know Donnie always looks forward to me making announcements like this, but it was a rough week for Tennessee, University of Tennessee, against teams in Indiana. The boys, the men lost to Purdue, and the women lost to Indiana. In a tournament. So not good at all. And but anyway, they went out there to the Maui Classic, and what a great tournament that was. You had Gonzaga in there. We talk about Tennessee, but you had Gonzaga, and Tennessee was ranked 7th in the country, and then you had Purdue number 2, you had Kansas number 1, and boy, oh boy, oh boy. I mean, that was probably without a doubt the toughest tournament in the United States.
I think it was 1, 2, 4, 7, and 11 of the. I think you had 5 of the top 12 in that tournament.
Yeah, and the Vols played Syracuse, and they won that first game 73-56. But Marcus, that game was a lot closer than the final score. Syracuse led early, and most of the second half it was about a 5-point game in Tennessee's favor, and then they ran away with it right there to the end. But Syracuse, traditionally a basketball power, for years with Jim Boeheim.
And just because they're not ranked right now doesn't mean they're not going to be ranked in a couple weeks.
No.
because,
Well,
Tennessee pulled away from them, but they showed everything they need. The difference between them and a Kansas or a Purdue did not seem that significant that they would not be ranked at some point this season.
I saw two big differences. I saw Purdue and I saw Kansas inside. They're better than us inside. Dickinson for Kansas and Evie for Purdue, they ate us up. They ate us up inside. The two quality players there, and we didn't shoot it. Lord, we shot 30% against Purdue and 31% against Kansas.
Yeah.
And we scored 60 points against Kansas. You're not going to win, Tony. You're not going to win many basketball games.
No, you're not with that outage and all that.
No.
Now, was there something going on with the Kansas coach during the tournament? I thought there was some between him and another coach, or did you see that at all?
I didn't see that.
I thought I read somewhere there was some issue. And all
I didn't see that.
Okay.
Let's talk about Purdue. That game was nick and tuck all the way through it. Halftime, I think it was tied up at the half. Went right down, and I think Purdue outscored them right there at the end of the game, 9-0 or 9
something along that line.
Yeah, it was. They pulled away, and really the Kansas game was the same way. They pulled away right there at the end. I think it was Kansas that went on the 9-0 run right there that got them right there. But Purdue, pretty physical football game because that's what it
that
looked
was pretty close.
that looked like a football game. What was there, 78 fouls or something like that?
Yeah, it was 58, I believe.
Yeah, it was crazy.
There were like 70-something free throws.
Yeah, that's
shot
what
in
it
that
was.
game.
Yeah, they shot 70-something free throws.
And a lot of that was going on between Evie and UT's post.
Yeah.
And I believe Adu fouled out with a couple minutes to go. Evie was limited. He picked up his fourth early in the second half. And what it kind of hit me was even when Evie was out, I can understand why you don't want to take it in the paint when he's there if you're a guard. But UT didn't seem to pick up they were still settling for jumpers instead of driving when Evie was out. And I felt like that was a chance to attack because that was what you wanted. You got what you wanted. You got the 7'4" guy on the bench in foul trouble. Take it in there.
Yeah, when you're shooting 30-some%, you probably ought to limit those outside shots. But that's just me talking. I don't know. But Evie, he got 23 points and 10 boards. Tony, if he'd played the other 14 minutes, he's probably looking at a 30 or 35-point game probably for them. And
sure.
And what impressed me about Purdue was the fact that they're good inside out. You know, they got some kids that can shoot the basketball. One other player that got 28 points, I believe, in the basketball game. So they're a solid team inside and out. I think what helped Tennessee was the fact that kept it close with their shooting not being very good from the floor was the fact that they got to the free throw line a lot. Tennessee got in the one-on-one with about 12 or 13 minutes to go in the game, and that helped them down the stretch, kept them close.
It helped them because they weren't shooting the ball well. I think Purdue still shot maybe 15 more free throws than Tennessee did.
Yeah.
And part of that was Evie, and part of that, you know, the way UT was defending him, because I think most of his points, I think more than half his points came from the foul line. So, you know, which is good for the big guy being able to get the free throw line. But you just felt like Tennessee had the capability, but that there's still some rust there. It felt like you had some things going on with the point guard that there was rust there from being in rehab. He's just not as comfortable, doesn't have the shot that he feels confident in. And that can affect the way they distribute a little bit.
Donnie, it looked like a typical Rick Barnes basketball team against a ranked opponent. We're gonna play the heck out of the defense, and when you play the heck out of the defense, you're going to lose your legs out there, and you're not going to shoot very well. And that's exactly what happened in both of these games. You know, and you go back under Rick Barnes' record. And he plays those ranked teams, and they go defense, 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 and then you look at their shooting percentages, and it doesn't take a guy that with any type of degree to understand that when you play defense like that, the first thing that goes is legs, and when legs go, your shot goes.
That's right.
And that's exactly what happened. And by golly, I don't have an answer for it. I wish that they played. I wish that he would let them, maybe not emphasize defense as much, but that's never going to happen.
No, not
but
with
it
him,
just looks like a typical Rick Barnes basketball team. I hope that it doesn't go completely in that direction where you just play defense and you try to hold the scores into the 60s, and maybe you get 70 some night and you win the basketball game.
Right.
And it just looked like there's nobody that you can count on out there consistently, game in and game out, to get you the points that you need to have. One night it might be Vescovy. The next night it might be Ziegler. The next night it might be Connect. The next night it might be we don't know. We don't know, and that's the way Barnes has coached over there. It's you just can't count on any one player. You're hoping that somebody will come through. The most consistent players that they've had so far this year, and they weren't really all that consistent in this tournament out there, was Gainey and Connect.
Yeah.
But they still were in double figure, those two guys.
Right.
But then you take Ziegler in the Kansas game, he was 0 for 6. He didn't score a point the Kansas game.
Well, you get what you get with Rick Barnes. He
Yeah.
lives and dies with his defense.
Exactly, and if you don't play it,
Right.
you're not going to play.
Yep.
And-
I don't care if you're a 50-point scorer in high school. If you come in here and you can put it up there from everywhere and score, if you don't play defense, you're going to be sitting over here watching the game.
Right.
And I don't know. He's a great coach. He's won that way, but
Yeah.
he's never won a national championship coaching that way. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I think you've got a piece there, though, because you have the scoring pieces, and I think what they're going to have to figure out is how are you going to manage them so that you have somebody with the fresh legs in the final 5 minutes. And, I mean, if it's me, and I'm not the basketball coach, but to me, I think there's a potential there with Connect's ability on a high ball screen to just shoot behind that screen. If you go underneath that screen to just shoot over his own player, and if you come around for him to drive, I think there's a possibility there with that particular play that Tennessee can make a staple to go to in the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, I hate to sound real partial, but I'm partial, Donnie, to shooters. I like guys. That guard for Purdue, you can count on him getting 20.
Yeah.
I mean, if he doesn't get 20, he's going to have a bad night because he's going to get his shots out there.
He is.
And, of course, I know the big guy in there helps him, but I don't know what's going to happen over here when I go into a basketball game. I don't know who's going to score or who I can count on. I don't have any. I don't know who I can count on inside.
Yep.
I mean, the inside was non-existent against Kansas. I mean, they had 9 points on the inside. How do you beat somebody with 9 points?
Tennessee desperately needs a big man.
Oh.
But they don't have one.
But give them
they don't
credit.
have it.
Those guys had just been beat up on by a game before by Purdue. I mean, they were worn out. They turned around and played 18 hours later against another great big man who is going.
You're exactly right. If you're playing the kind of defense he wants you to play, you're wore to a pulp.
Yes, you are.
I mean, you think about this. They played the guy who was the National Player of the Year last year, and then they turn around and play the guy who is already making the kind of a bid that he might challenge him from repeating.
Sure, he may do
I mean, he was good.
Hey,
You better believe he was.
you look at the veteran players that Tennessee's got back. You look at Ziegler. Let's take Ziegler.
Okay.
To me, Ziegler, it fits right into the Rick Barnes system. He's a defensive player.
Mm-hmm.
He's an absolutely defensive player. But overall, and I don't mean this in a downgrading way. Overall, Ziegler is he's a playground player, pretty much.
Okay.
He's a playground player. You know, he's gonna play the heck out of you on the defense, and that's what Barnes wants. He's perfect for this system. Now he may not be perfect at North Carolina or Indiana or Purdue, but he's perfect for right here.
Right.
Vescovy, same type of player. Same type of player. He's a defensive player. He's got some talent, don't get me wrong, but he's about the same kind of player right now as he was when he came in here. He can't shoot off the move. He's a standstill shooter, pretty much.
Yep.
He's going to play the heck out of the defense. He's not a very good ball handler.
Nope.
You know, if he puts the ball on the floor, you just you kind of
hold your breath.
You kind of hold your breath a little bit, and he can make some plays.
Yep.
But he's out there because he can play some defense. And if he gets 20 points like he did the other night, heck, fire. But if he gets 8, and he holds the other guy to 6, that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine in the system.
That has been Barnes' formula of success throughout his entire career.
I don't know what's going to happen with Connect. You know, the guy they brought in and Gainey. I mean, they're offensive players. There's no doubt about it. Hey,
right.
listen, I'm telling you right now, Gainey is a player. He's a better player than Ziegler right now.
Mm-hmm.
Overall player, shooting and so forth. And Connect, he can put it on the floor. He can shoot it, but he's not as good a defensive player as some of these other guys. I don't know how that's going to go.
Barnes isn't going to cut them loose and let them go ahead and score towards their abilities.
And I can tell you this, if he puts it in Connect's head that he's going to have to play defense like Ziegler and Vescovi, he's not going to be as good offensive player as he was when he came in here. You just wait and see. Yeah. His shooting in the Maui Classic wasn't near as good as it was in some of the previous games, even though he scored in double figures. So
one of them's going to suffer. His offense or his defense is going to suffer.
Exactly. You know, but you know what you get when you come in here to play, you know, for Rick Barnes, and he's going to play that. He's like Jim Boeheim at Syracuse. He's going to play a 2-3 zone. I don't care if we're 20 points behind. We're playing a 2-3 zone. And we're going to play it. He did win one national championship with that 2-3. He may be the only coach that I can ever remember that won a national championship playing a zone. But he did it.
So what's your judgment, Mike? Is Tennessee a top 10 team or not from what you saw this weekend?
Right now, I think that compared to, you know, and I saw some other teams play. I think North Carolina's got a pretty good basketball team. We play them next, you know, on the road. So,
ACC,
you know, they're
SEC challenge.
Yeah. I think
tail right there.
Yeah, I think that I would say right now you've got to rank them right there, and you know, I don't know, they're not in the top 5, but I think that, you know, around 11 or 12 right now would probably be a good assessment for them going in. Now they're going to win some games. I think they've got North Carolina State in the tournament. They got North Carolina, and I think they got Illinois over here, so they've still got some pretty good tests. But I thought that tournament out there told them a lot. I think that's great experience to play out there, and it would have been great for their tournament resume, if they would have gotten one of those games, Purdue or Kansas. But it didn't happen.
Now coming back, who do they got next? Coming back home,
they have UNC next week.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, don't get me wrong. I was disappointed they didn't win one of these games and not both of them. But Tennessee's got a fine basketball team, and they're going to play like he's going to play, and they're going to win a lot of games, and they could make a deep run. You know, in March. I mean, we're just talking.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, we're November. We're November. All those teams, even Kansas and Purdue, look a little rusty. I mean, they didn't look like March form, so to speak. But you could really tell that those were quality basketball teams that we played. Kansas is going to get better. Purdue's going to get better. I think Purdue's going to win the Big Ten, and I know they're on a mission. You know, Evie could have gone on to the pros there at Purdue last year, but he elected to come back because they got beat in the tournament. Got put out quickly last year in the tournament, and he wants to see if they can go, you know, all the way to the Final Four or maybe win the thing. But no, I think Tennessee's got a fine basketball team, and I'd prefer them to open it up a little bit more and not play as much defense, but that's just probably wishful thinking on my part.
But that's the same thing you've been saying for about the last 10 years.
Yeah. And you can't argue the fact. Yeah. Which do you want, up and down, or you want to win a lot of games?
That's right.
You know, when somebody's winning a lot of games, it's hard to complain.
It sure
is. Hey, it's time for a break, and when we return, it's the Boyd's Sports Spotlight as Goatee Sports Page veteran Donnie Moore will have the sports headlines, and then our crew will talk some SEC football. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply.
Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
It's payday, and on payday, you want to have access to your money right away. When you enroll for direct deposit at Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, your money comes to you with no waiting. It's the fastest and most secure way to get paid. Getting set up is easy. All you need is your account number and our routing number. Find out more at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Some restrictions apply. Ask for details.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the Boyd's Sports Spotlight. And first up, Donnie Moore. I know there's a lot of headlines out there, and I know we got a lot of big football games today. And I think I counted up here about 9 teams still trying to get into the 4 playoff spots. But
You got some big games in about 40 minutes.
You're not a kid.
Yeah,
I mean,
right
high noon. Always play that Ohio State-Michigan game at high noon, don't they? Huh? I don't know what is that like a gunfight right there at the OK Corral at 12 o'clock? I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but it's all yours, Donnie.
Thank you, Mike. All right. Well, we mentioned this a little while ago, but just want to kind of go over it again. This week began for ETSU with a press release from Athletics Director Dr. Richard Sander, who announced a change in the football coaching ranks at the university. Former Maryville High School coach George Quarles, who led the Buccaneer program for 2 seasons, only 2 seasons, Tony.
Yeah.
It's wrong, isn't it?
Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong.
Going 3-8 both years, was informed early Sunday that his services in Johnson City would no longer be required.
It's just bad all around. I'm not happy about it. I mean, that's.
I don't think any of us
and also remember, his offensive line coach was Jake Guillermo, who was played here at Maryville High School and ended up playing at Clemson University.
That's true.
And just a great offensive line coach and all that.
According to the release, a national search for ETSU's next football coach will begin immediately.
Yeah, whoever becomes the next head coach, just make sure that
they better watch their back.
Watch your back real quick. This
true.
president's not going to back you or anything like that. You look at 2 or 3 other sports, basketball, other sports like that. He's been 2-out on several coaches.
Yeah.
And and
So you're saying rent, don't buy.
Rent, absolutely.
Yeah, rent, don't buy.
Rent.
Well, Mississippi State quarterback Will Rogers III, the SEC's most prolific passer, is apparently planning to enter the NCAA transfer portal. Rogers is a graduate, which means he is able to enter the portal before the winter transfer window officially opens on December 4th. With 1 year of eligibility remaining, Rogers had 1,301 completed passes in Starkville, a career SEC record. So, will Rogers find a new home in the SEC, or will he jump to a different area of the country?
You know, the Wake Forest coach, Clausen,
Yeah.
last week was real upset about this right here, where you make a quarterback, you work with him, and you get him, where he's broken all these records and so forth, and then the guy leaves. His quarterback
went to Notre Dame.
Went up to Notre Dame, and he's had a good year up there. Notre Dame thinks he's the greatest thing since duck soup, treating him like he's had a career at Notre Dame. He's been up there. He's been up there for 11 games.
Yeah.
And here's Wake Forest. That spent all this time to make him,
developing him, and
now you got Rogers in another situation here at Mississippi State where Leach had him for most of his career. Now he's going to jump ship and
welcome to the world we live in right now.
No kidding.
And
What the SEC has rules about transfer, but does the state of Mississippi? Because if you were a quarterback looking for a winning offense,
You wouldn't have to,
it's not that far.
wouldn't have to
Ole
go too
Miss.
far, would it?
Yep.
No kidding. Yeah, because they got beat in the Egg Bowl.
And I mean, I can understand his situation because you've got an interim coach who's not going to be making it.
Mississippi
As the
State's
first-
gone. I think they've gone through 4 head coaches in the last.
Well, see,
This guy can throw it. I guarantee you that.
so I mean,
last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And he's
Oh,
a good ball player and all.
He
the
sure
thing
is.
about that transfer portal with a quarterback, you can look out there, and if somebody's interested, you can pretty well tell whether you're going to move right in there or not.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's not like coming out of high school, and you think, well, we're going to work with you. Maybe you have an opportunity, maybe your sophomore year or your junior year, but you're coming out. Those guys, when they pick them up in that portal, they're going to play.
That's right.
The thing I don't like also is the transfer portal. You can go to a school in the same conference. I mean, it used to be there used to be real few.
Used to be. You're right.
You couldn't be in a conference. To me, that's a big issue in my respect as well.
Yeah, I agree. Well, former Paralympic gold medalist and Olympic runner Oscar Pistorius has been granted parole in his native country of South Africa. He's been incarcerated near Pretoria since it was determined that he shot and killed his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp, on Valentine's Day in 2013. His parole was granted yesterday, but does not take effect until January the 5th. The parole board considered several factors leading up to their decision to grant parole to Pistorius, including his conduct, his disciplinary record in prison, his participation in educational classes, his mental state, and the risk he would pose to society if he were to be released. So he's getting out. January the 5th. January the 5th.
Did it say how long the sentence he served?
13. He got incarcerated in 2013.
10 years.
No, 2017. He actually the
6
paroles, all the trial and all that stuff took until 27. Took 4 years.
So
he didn't get. He was in jail, but he didn't start serving his sentence until 2017.
So 6 years for murder.
Yep.
Ooh, that's not good. I thought he was in jail for 10 years, but he had been in jail all during the whole.
He had been incarcerated the whole time.
Well, I guess if they count that, then he was in for 10, but that still doesn't seem anywhere near long enough. Because it wasn't accidental.
No, it was not
No,
accidental.
It wasn't like a crime of passion sort of thing.
Absolutely. Well, Cowboys outside cornerback Deron Bland returned a 63-yard pick six off Washington quarterback Sam Howell's pass that put Dallas up by 35 in the Week 12 game on Thanksgiving Day. It also put Bland in the record books for most interceptions returned for a TD in a season. Bland's draft selection is certainly paying off for the Cowboys, as he was the 5th-round pick in 2022 out of Sacramento State.
Turned out pretty good.
I'm telling you. Now
He's returned what, 4?
Five. Yeah.
In one season.
In one season.
That's unbelievable.
5 pick six.
Unbelievable.
5 pick sixes. Yep. On this day, in November 25th in sports, In the year 1949, Ted Williams wins the American League MVP. 1951, on this day, Cleveland Browns were penalized a record 209 yards versus the Chicago Bears.
Well, of course, it's against the Bears. The thing is, the Bears probably had 180 yards on them.
Could be. In 1952, the only win ever for the Dallas Texans. They went 1-11 that year over the Bears.
The Bears.
27-23 at the Cotton Bowl. In 1961 on this day, in the NBA, Bob Cousy becomes the second player to score 15,000 points in his career.
Yeah, there's a consistent guy.
He was a great
When you're
one,
talking
wasn't
about great players compared to
telling you.
good players,
Yes, sir.
there's a guy that's consistent on offense, he's consistent on defense, and he can pass the basketball,
You better believe it.
you can count on him.
Yes, sir.
That's a great player.
Bob Cousy.
A good player, you can count on him some of the time,
Yep.
but not all the
Think
time.
Cousy could play here at Tennessee?
Cousy could show. He showed
Well, I
up.
don't know.
He showed up every day.
I would like to think he could, but
Was his defense skills better?
yeah.
On this day in 1969, Kansas City outfielder Lou Piniella is the American League Rookie of the Year.
Sweet Lou.
Sweet Lou. 1970, New
manager.
York Yankees catcher Thurman Munson is the American League Rookie of the Year.
Got his card, rookie year card.
1971, the 37th Heisman Trophy Award went to Auburn quarterback
Pat Sullivan.
Sullivan. That's
Don't
right.
play over it.
I've met-
Sullivan and Beasley. Remember that?
Yeah.
I sure
Yeah.
do.
I met
Good
Sullivan many
combination.
times. When he was at Auburn, I was at Sanford coaching, and we'd go out and have lunch together because we recruited the same schools.
Yeah,
Great
he
guy.
wasn't a very big guy either.
Wasn't a very
Was
big
he?
guy.
No,
Ended up being the head coach of Sanford University for about 8 years.
and Beasley helped him a lot.
He sure did. On this day in 1976, Buffalo running back O.J. Simpson gains 273 yards versus Detroit. Then got into a white Ford Bronco
Yeah.
and did a slow chase.
Yeah.
No, that's later.
Yeah. What's he done lately?
No, yeah. 1977.
7-12. Good behavior.
7-12. 1977, Tommy Hearns KOs Jerome Hill in his first professional fight. KO'd him in 2 rounds.
He's a good fighter.
Tommy
Absolutely.
Hearns, he
Yes,
sure was. Hitman, Tommy Hearns. 1979, Pat Summerall teamed up with John Madden in the first television sports broadcast. That
With those two.
combination went for 22 years.
Wow. Classic.
Those guys were
Those
great.
classic, yes,
Great
absolutely.
broadcasters.
Great team.
1980, Sugar Ray Leonard versus Roberto Duran for the WBC welterweight title. That fight was referred to as the No Mas
That's
fight.
right. That's right.
Because Duran said he wanted no Mas. Won by Leonard in the Superdome in New Orleans. 1981, the first relief pitcher to win the American League Most Valuable Player from the Oakland A's. You remember him? Raleigh Fingers.
Yeah. Yeah.
big
but the
waxed
big stash,
mustache.
That's right. He
Yep.
waxed it up good.
Raleigh Fingers. 1983, the first heavyweight title was won in 1 round. This guy TKO'd Marvis Frazier. And who it
Marvelous
was?
Marvin.
Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes.
And Sugar Ray.
Yep. He beat Marvis Frazier. You're right. In 2018,
Sugar
the
Ray.
Brit Lewis Hamilton claims his 5th Formula One World Drivers' Championship for Mercedes. In 2019, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson becomes the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 3,000 passing yards and rush for 1,500 yards in his first 2 NFL seasons. Man, he was talented.
Still is.
Still is. You're
Still
right.
is.
That's all for this week's Sports Headlines. Now let's bring the Boyd Sports Spotlight into focus. Back to you, Gunner.
Yeah, time to call back in Carson Newman assistant football coach Tony Aruli and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons and Blount County Sports Hall of Famer Donnie Moore. And Tony, I'm looking at these teams right here, and there's some teams that really had some successful years. I'm looking at Missouri.
Yeah.
They finished strong
absolutely.
yesterday.
Yep.
They finished the year at 10-2. Penn State 10-2. The only two losses they had were to Ohio State and
Yep,
Michigan.
Yes.
And Ole Miss, they 10-2.
Yep.
10-2 for Ole Miss. Oklahoma 10-2, and Iowa 10-2. All those teams held service, I believe, yesterday. Isn't that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Iowa's got to be the funniest because they're like the bottom in offensive production and points scored and all that, but they got a 10-2 record, and they always find a way to win a football game.
Yeah.
It might be 13-10 like they did against Nebraska yesterday, but you're right. There's a lot. This would been a great year for the 12-team playoff.
Yeah, there would really be some discussion, and
Sure.
Probably somebody for sure is going to be left out of that deal with some of those records, because those teams lost to some really good teams. You take Missouri, they lost to I believe they lost to Georgia and LSU, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, they lost at LSU at home. Should have won that game. Remember, they were up most of the game, lost it right there at the end. Let's talk about the playoffs and the standings a little bit. It has a way, or it has had a way, and Marcus, in the past, of everything kind of working out. After you get done with the championship games, the conference championship games, it all seems to. But I don't know. Georgia and Alabama. You'd like to figure that the winner of that game is going to go to the playoffs?
Well,
can you see it any other way?
Yeah, if Alabama wins, I still don't see them getting in. I think
if Alabama beats Georgia,
I still don't think they'll let them in. They're going to hold that Texas loss over their head.
Well, yeah,
and they'll put Texas in ahead of them.
If Texas finishes with one loss,
that means that they're going to have to. That they will all be rooting for Florida State to lose.
No.
That's got to happen.
Brian won't.
Well, Boss won't be rooting for that.
Boss won't.
But
so if Alabama beats Georgia, you're saying that Alabama won't go in, but Georgia will go in?
No, I'm saying they would put Texas will still go in if Texas doesn't lose.
I tell you why I don't think that's going to happen, because I think if Georgia's the number one team in the country in the playoffs, and they're going for their third, conference championship and third NCAA championship. I think if Alabama beats the number one team in the nation, in the number one conference in the nation, I think Alabama goes. I think it'd be real hard to leave them out, Tony. What do you think?
I totally agree.
It would be hard, but the committee is stuck by that Texas loss.
Yeah. What do you think, Donnie?
I agree with you. I think they will.
I think it'd be a hard decision.
The SEC needs Florida to pull something out today.
Yeah.
And simplify the formula.
But Florida State's got Florida, and then they got the ACC championship game. But I'll tell you what, this committee sometimes is real finicky.
Oh, yeah,
They've lost their quarterback. They're
not going to penalize them for that until they lose.
I'll tell you. They're not going to tell you that.
No, they did penalize them.
They'll make something. They'll say something. They'll say something about. It was their schedule. They didn't play quite as strong a schedule as everybody else.
Well, they flipped them this week, so they did sort of penalize them. But they're not really going to penalize them unless they lose today or they lose in the ACC championship game, and then they're going to drop hard.
Right.
Speaking of Texas, much to the delight of Texas fans yesterday, Arch Manning got some mop-up duty yesterday, and that crowd went nuts.
Really?
Yeah. He got in the game for one series right in the late in the game and threw some passes, led the team down the field, and didn't throw a touchdown pass, but he completed couple of passes and ran a first down or two.
What was the monetary deal on that one series in his NIL money?
Isn't he getting like $6 million? I think $6 million.
I think you're right.
$6 million series.
Deion Sanders is like $9.2 million.
But he played pretty well on that series.
Well, the interesting thing, Mike, you got the list there.
Yeah, I got it right here. I'm weeding it down.
And I was talking to Tony. If this was the playoff year, if this is the year we had gone to 12 teams, how much more interesting would this weekend be?
Oh,
it'd be.
Because you basically would have the top 20 jockeying around, either playing to get in or playing to knock somebody off and keep your rival from getting in.
Yeah,
Sure.
it'd be big. It'd be huge. And these are all rival games this weekend.
And that's the other
See?
thing is this may be the last weekend for that. There's no guarantee because all of your Big Ten rivalries are going to be shuffled next year with the introduction of the California teams. In the SEC, there is no guarantee that these traditional Thanksgiving games are going to survive.
Yeah.
When that schedule, you're only going to have 2 permanent opponents next year, and that schedule has not been released.
I mean, you look at the schedule. So many schools right now are in that 10-2 area, all around the 10th to the 13th position.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be. It's never going to be easy when
No,
you pick.
even to go 12, somebody's going to be left out.
So, number 30.
Somebody's not going to be happy. But let's go back to this year. Ohio State and Michigan, the winner goes, right? The winner goes today.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's one
no
spot
doubt.
that's in.
Well, they're in as long as they win the championship game.
Correct.
Yeah.
They got to win the championship.
Yeah, you got to win the championship game. You know, they're going to play Iowa in Indianapolis. Let's go out west. You got Washington, and you've got Oregon. Oregon's 11-1. They beat Oregon State last night.
Right.
So they're 11-1. They're done. They're ready. You know, I assume they'll play Washington, Pac-12 championship game out there.
Yes.
And Washington plays today. Is that correct?
They play Washington State.
State.
For the
Washington
Apple
State today.
Cup.
Right.
Yeah. So you're looking at 12-0 and 10-1. Winner of that game goes the playoffs.
Well, that's one of those that's kind
There
of
you go.
interesting. It's a rematch because they've already played once.
Yeah, but this is for the deal. This is for the
And
championship.
This is one of those testing points that what the committee says versus what it does comes under scrutiny.
Yeah.
Because it says all losses are equal, and it doesn't discredit more a loss in September, a.k.a. Texas over Alabama, than it would a loss in November. So what's it going to do?
That's what they say anyway.
Is it going to count that first meeting more?
Okay.
That's right.
Or is it going to count the second meeting more if they get different outcomes?
Okay, now that you got Washington and you got Oregon right there. Let's say Oregon wins that game, and you got Oregon with a loss, you got Washington with a loss. Texas, say they beat. I assume they'll be playing Oklahoma, probably. So let's say Texas is 11-1. I mean, you're going to have several, and you're going to have Ohio State or Michigan in there at 11-1. So what are you going to do here? What are you going to do here, folks? I mean, I know all this has worked out in the past, but I'm seeing some one-loss teams right here.
I'm picking up the phone to ESPN and say, "Are you sure we can't go ahead and do this 12-team deal this year?"
This is the year to do it.
Because
we're
in a bit of a pickle here, boys, on number 4.
Yeah, because
So if Michigan beats Ohio State, okay, then is Ohio State out of the top 4 then?
I think they are.
That game's at Michigan, right?
It's
Today?
Well,
It's in the big house. Isn't
then
it?
here's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to go back. They're going to forget about this one-loss crap, and they're going to go back to who wins conference championships. They're going to go, well, Georgia or Alabama won the SEC.
Those conference
Washington
champions are
or
guaranteed,
Washington or Oregon won the Pac-12. We'll take that winner, and you could say, and the same thing in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And then you're down here to the ACC, and you're going, well, you know, the ACC, just not as tough as the Big Ten, not as tough as the Pac.
The best teams lost their quarterback.
It works out if Florida State loses.
Yeah.
If Florida State doesn't lose with a backup quarterback, if it still wins its next 2 games.
You got Louisville there at 10-1.
They're going to have to beat Louisville in the ACC championship, aren't they?
Yeah, then what do you do with Louisville if they win the ACC and they finish with 1 loss?
That's what we're all talking about.
Yeah, and they had some big wins. They beat Notre Dame, and I think they beat Clemson.
Well, they just faced off with Kentucky at the 50-yard line a couple minutes ago and got to be separated. So
right now, Ohio State is 2, Michigan's 3. So say Michigan goes ahead and beats Ohio State. So does that knock Ohio State out of the top 4? Then what happens if Michigan then loses
to Iowa?
To Iowa.
Yeah,
because you know
they lose to Iowa 10-7.
You know it's going to be a 7-3 ball game. And
I don't.
But Michigan can't steal the signals like they used to.
I don't know. Well, again, in the past we've looked at this, but it's all worked out.
Yeah, it has.
It's all worked out. Well, we'll see what we're going.
I don't know so much about that.
We're going to see what happens.
Gives us great conversation during
it is. It's great conversation. It's almost like the old days where you were just trying to figure out who's the national championship, and it was mythical. Remember?
That's
At the end of the day, one conference is going to be left out. Yeah. This isn't. I don't think this is a year where 2 conferences are going to be left out. I think you're going to have one left out. It's just a matter of who it's going to be. And right now it looks like it's the ACC that's going to be left out this time.
Yeah, they're kind of the whipping child.
So
they've got that reputation of, Florida State just hadn't played anybody. Sounds like the old Notre Dame game. And Penn State, they don't play anybody.
Yeah. Well, for years, it's been the Pac-12 that was left out.
Right.
Yeah.
So now it's not Clemson. Now the ACC is looking like it's going to be left out.
But they're not knocking the Big 12 this year because you know why? Because they're loaded with quarterbacks out there.
If Florida State doesn't lose its quarterback, I think the committee would be really sweating bullets right now because somebody was going to be left out.
Right.
And it's really hard to say which of those 5 conference champions you would have to leave sitting there on the sidelines.
So if you're Brian Johnson and you've seen Florida State play every football game this year, regardless of where they're playing, where are you buying where are you making your hotel reservations and buying your tickets for what bowl game?
I wouldn't be buying anything until I see what they do today. Because if you don't beat Florida, you're not beating Louisville. So I'd want to see what happens today.
Yeah.
I just think that if Alabama does beat Georgia in the conference championship,
you got to pick.
I think
it's a done deal there.
I think both will be in.
The SEC, the toughest conference, it's a done deal.
Yeah, I think both will be in.
And that's one, and then the Big Ten's the other one. You got 2 spots open.
Yep.
Well, you can't take Alabama without taking Texas. That's what they're going to tell you. You can't put Alabama in and leave Texas out, no matter if they beat Georgia.
Well, if Texas doesn't win the Big 12, you sure can, because they can say, well, they didn't win the Big 12.
As long as they have a second loss, sure. But if they don't have a second loss.
Well, you can put Alabama in there if they win, and you can put Texas in there. Now you're down to 1. Now you got to pick between the ACC and the Pac-12 out there, and just whichever winner.
Well, let's say you've got Georgia, Alabama, and Texas. You're going to take the Big 12 winner and leave out Washington and Oregon?
No, you got the Big 10 winner, you got the SEC winner, and you got the Big 12 winner, and then you're going to have to pick between the Pac-12 and the ACC winner.
But you were talking about if Alabama beats Georgia, the 2 SEC teams get in.
No, not me. I said
the winner.
I said that's Tony. Don't lay that on me.
Oh, that was a Tony.
Yeah, that was a Tony. Yeah,
that was a Tony.
Don't lay that on me. Yeah,
I think that
you got to win the SEC championship game to get in.
I still think that if Alabama wins the championship.
Yeah.
I still think they'll get Georgia in because Georgia's been number 1 all year.
Yeah. Hey, it's time for a break, and when we return, it's the Bowl Predictions segment. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Bluetick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza. Made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Bluetick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Bluetick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today: call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for this week's bowl prediction segment. I'm here with Donnie Moore and Marcus Fitzsimmons and Coach Tony Aruli. And Donnie Moore, the activities are still going on outside, but boy, the activities have picked up here at the Blue Tick Tavern, filling up.
Lots of
Everybody,
people
hungry
outside,
people,
outside and in today, Mike.
Man, it's
hungry people. Yeah,
I think it only took about 15 minutes for the restaurant to fill up.
Yeah,
I mean, it was real fast, but it's packed outside right
Yeah.
now.
Sure is.
Donnie.
Everybody's here today in downtown Maryville today. It's a happening place.
On our picks, it's tough to pick against these spreads.
It
Donnie's you're up to 9-6, and Marcus is at 8-7. I'm at 8-7. Tony's at 3-2. We're all one game above 500.
Yeah, well, at least we got our heads above the
Right.
water.
As long as you can keep above. So
We're not drowning.
let's take a look at some of these games here, and I'm going to start with Tony first. And we got Ohio State, and we've got number 2 Ohio State and number 3 Michigan. That's in Ann Arbor, and Jim Harbaugh is not on the sidelines. And Michigan, the last couple of years, come away with wins in that game. It used to be Ohio State coming away with domination, but by golly, Michigan had their number. They're a 3.5-point favorite today.
Yeah.
Can the Wolverines pull it off again today against the Buckeyes?
Yes, because first of all, they know all of Ohio State signals. All right. They've been studying it for years and years. So I am definitely going to go with Michigan.
All right. Marcus?
I am going to do the sacrificial thing here for my childhood friend and longtime buddy, and I'm going to pick Ohio State for Mr. Cox and family, and because I don't want Rick Howard mad at me.
Good call on that one.
Yeah. Donnie Moore?
The line's 3.5.
3.5.
3.5. I'm gonna go with the Wolverines today.
All right.
What's your call?
I'm going to go. I don't like Harbaugh not being on the sidelines, but I think Michigan's taking all that flack up there about all that deal.
Yeah.
I think they're out to prove something today. And I think Ohio State should have been beaten in South Bend early in the year. They should have a loss.
Sure.
But Notre Dame decided they wasn't going to play the last minute and a
How
half.
in the world does he bring Notre Dame into?
Well, because they could have.
Every
They should have beat this. They should have beat this bunch. And Ohio State hadn't been challenged the rest of the year outside of that game.
And if Troy was here, he'd be going berserk right now.
Well, yeah, but that's just him.
Yeah.
I'm going with Michigan. I'm going with Michigan to win and cover.
All righty.
Florida State, 11-0 at Florida. Florida's 5-6. They need this game to get in a bowl game. Florida State's a 6.5-point favorite. The number 5 team in the country is a 6.5-point favorite against the disappointing Gators.
Is that Florida State?
That was my question.
No, it's at Ben Hill Griffin.
Oh, it's in the swamp?
It's at Florida.
It's at the swamp.
Marcus, what do you think?
As much as I can't believe I'm going to say this, I'm actually going to pick the Gators. I just have a hard time imagining Florida State's going to recover from this.
Donnie?
I think Florida State's going to win the game, but I'm not sure they're going to win. They're going to cover the point spread. So I'm going to pick the Gators to cover the.
So you're betting on wide right somewhere along the way?
Yeah. I think it's going to come down to a field goal.
Okay. I really like Brian Johnston. I really like him. You know? Mm-hmm. And he likes Florida State.
Oh, yeah, he's a grad. He's
been to all their games.
He's a grad.
He's been to all their games. He's going to be down there today. I'm sure he's going to be down there today. He's going to have everything on Facebook.
He's a Florida State alum.
I'm taking them. Personally, I'd like both of them to lose.
So you're wait a minute. Did you say you're taking Florida State?
I'm taking Florida State to cover.
Wow. Is that a vacuum cleaner I hear running in the background? Oh no, that's Mike sucking up to the ball.
Oh, they're number 5 in the country, and if they think they ought to be in the national championship playoff hunt, surely they can beat Florida by a touchdown, can't they?
I would think so.
I would think. If not, they don't deserve to be in there.
Tony's picking reasoning now.
All right, it's in the swamp. You got
a horrible Gator football team. Horrible.
They're up and down, but it is Florida State. And what's the point?
6.5.
6.5.
I'm gonna say Gators.
Oh.
Okay.
So Mike has
right.
his swing game out of my swing
You guys
game.
all of you want to help the committee out in picking the playoff. So today, if Florida upsets them, then
we're it.
Yeah.
Well,
no, it's point spread.
I think Florida State's going to win the game.
Yeah. But it might be by a couple points.
Yeah.
Point spread 6.
Maybe by a field goal.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
This is a lot. This is a lot of pressure. Like getting a little short-winded.
All right. The down with the ship Kentucky, 6-5. You know, the typical Kentucky team starts strong. Everybody thinks they're great, and then they play Georgia,
they just keep
and they get the living tar beat out of them.
They keep teasing you.
And they just go down. And they're playing the number 10 Louisville Cardinals. They're at Louisville, and the Cardinals are they're a 7-point favorite.
Yeah.
Where am I at, Donnie? You going first?
Okay. And it's a touchdown spread.
Yeah.
And they're at Louisville.
They're at Louisville. Louisville's number 10 in the country.
I don't think
so. Home field advantage one way or the other.
Hey, Louisville still got a shot at the playoffs. You know, they could beat Florida State, and they're going to say, "Hey, we won the ACC. We're 12-1."
I've picked against Kentucky so many times. They've disappointed me a few times.
Well, that's because you picked them.
Well, they've disappointed all their fans.
I picked against them. Yeah, they have disappointed. I'm gonna go with Louisville. I'm gonna go with the Cardinals. They've not played too well recently, but they're still ranked.
Well, they got a lot to play for.
They're 10-1, aren't they?
Yeah, they're in the hunt. They're in the hunt for a playoff spot.
I'm gonna pick the Cardinals.
Yeah, I got Louisville. Who you got, Tony?
I got Louisville too.
Even though playing at home.
Okay, Marcus, we'll fire up my old Kentucky home, and you can pick Kentucky. How's that?
I wish I could.
Well, the sun shines
I wish I could.
on my old Kentucky home.
Pick.
Come on, Marcus.
Go for it.
This is going to be a Louisville pick.
Huh?
I think the Wildcats their fight for anything else is over this season.
Devin Leary's stretching right now.
They're fighting for the football season to be over and basketball to start and get going. Who you got?
Kroger Field is just,
They're not playing at Kroger Field.
I know, but you practice on Kroger Field, and it's a frozen food section. So I'm just saying Louisville's going to win this.
All right. Well.
About 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay, Texas A&M, 7-4 at number 14, LSU. LSU 11.5 points at home. against Texas A&M, who's done nothing but win after they fired Jimbo Fisher. Who you like, Tony?
It's at Death Valley.
It's at Death Valley at night.
Yeah.
It's a night game. LSU. That's not a good place to be at night. Down Bayou country.
I think LSU's going to win, but I'm not sure. I don't think they're going to cover, so I'm going to take A&M.
What's the spread?
11.5.
11.5. That's a big spread. Ooh.
Against that Texas A&M defense, I think that's a little much.
Yeah, but by golly, they got an awful good quarterback. LSU's Daniels is an awful good quarterback.
He
Donnie.
is, but
yeah,
Heisman potential.
Yeah. We are. Who you like, Aaron? Donnie?
I think LSU's going to go off on them.
And I'm going to take LSU also.
And Jimbo's still laughing all the way to the bank right now.
All right, let's get to the big one.
With his
last pick.
Last pick right here. Marcus, you can go first. Vanderbilt at Tennessee.
Vanderbilt.
What?
Vanderbilt. They're going to cover.
Okay.
What's the spread?
27.
27. I'm not sure Tennessee can score 27 points.
Okay, who you got, Donnie? Tennessee or Vanderbilt?
Golly, 27 points for the spread?
27 points.
Seriously,
so if Tennessee wins
as banged up as Tennessee is, they got
no
27
receivers.
Points. No receivers.
So if Tennessee wins 24-0, then if you
you don't cover.
No, okay, they got to win by 28.
28.
Yeah, what do you think, Donnie?
I guess I'll take the Vols.
boy, that's
really.
I feel much better about that.
Really confident.
God, I am excited about your pick.
Yeah. God. Hey, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take the Vols. I'm not taking Vanderbilt for nothing.
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't take them if they was playing the Russians. Who you got?
I'm going Vandy with the point spread.
Okay.
So they got to score 26.
Okay. Guys, it's been fun. Tony, good to see you again, buddy.
Always a great adventure being with you guys.
Yeah, made it through it. Another fun day. Got the whistle going here. All right, that'll do it for today's edition of the Goatee Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael back at Loud Media, our host of the Blue Tick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Tony Iruli, until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.
And that's the final whistle. Join us again next Saturday for the Goatee Sports Page. The best in local sports since 1978.